to this veterinary nursing info session. Welcome. We'll have a few slides that will kind of follow along with the packet of information that you have on the info session. So feel free to take notes and definitely ask questions as we go. My name is Amanda Hackett. I'm a registered veterinary technician and director of the program. I started this program back in 2016. We have had 7 successful cohorts. Ronnie's group is cohort 8, and you guys are going to be cohort 9, number 9. With that, we have had about 48 students take their VT&E and pass on the very first try, about a 75% pass rate. And we'll talk about what that means and why that's important. Here at this program, we do all sorts of fun stuff. We actually have pictures to show you guys today, but we'll talk through all the important information that you need to have in order to decide if this is something you want to do, one for school, but also for your career. We're going to talk about how hard it is and why you want to put that effort in. I am recording. Thank you so much. Yes, we are. We're going to put this baby on YouTube and we're going to go viral. All right. So with me today, I have a student that's in the program right now. This is Ronnie. We have another student that'll be here a little bit later to talk to you guys too and give you just a student perspective. And then I also have Lynn. Lynn, do you want to say a minute just real quick or speak for a minute? Lynn Loveland is the Dean of Health Sciences. She oversees this whole department, including vet nursing. So she's my boss and definitely the person to go to with any questions or concerns while you're a student here. Lynn, in the lovely blue.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you. Well, welcome. I'm glad you all came today. And WSU Tech. This is an awesome program. Amanda does a fabulous job. She has a real enthusiasm and passion for the profession. And you can tell that when she talks about it. So it is a challenging program, but the work you do is challenging, right? I mean, Amanda's always telling me, you know, I also supervise or work with the nursing departments. And she says, oh, they have it so easy. They only have to learn one species. We have to learn multiple ones. So we have a much harder job and our patients don't ever talk to us. So in some ways that's very true. So anything that's worthwhile takes some effort. And that's what this does too, but we also make it fun. So anyway, thank you again for coming. We're going to get a lot of information, give it some thought, and hopefully it's going to be the right path for you. Thank you for coming. Say a few words.
Thanks.
Okay.
And then some other bodies we have in the room. Today, you guys all know and love your program advisor. You should know Alex very well, right? She's going to help you get into the program as far as meeting all the application requirements, double checking that you've done the gen ed work that you need to do to apply. She can hook you up with observation forms as needed, all of that good stuff. So definitely don't forget about Alex even when you do get into the program, right? And then Courtney in the back, she is an RVT. She works as our lab manager. So she's in charge of overseeing all of the live animal labs, of which there are 1. So she coordinates our horse lab. We have some rodents in the lab right now that we'll be working with tomorrow. So she does all of those kind of things. And then additional faculty that we have not here tonight include 2 part-time veterinarians that work with the program and do the classes like surgery. We have 3 other RVTs that teach a handful of different courses across the program as well. So we're a pretty robust team. And like Lynn said, we do like to have fun, but we do take our job very seriously in making sure that you get what you need to become a registered veterinarian technician. So let's jump into it. My clicker actually wants to work. I know, it's a great night. So just talking about vet tech or vet nursing as a career option, I like to say this is a secret little degree. It's an associate degree program, so it's 68 credit hours. It's pretty standard. But with that, it affords you the opportunity to work in so many different areas, right? We all know you can work in a vet clinic. That's standard. You can also work in research, right? You can work in all of the different sales companies that they have, like Pfizer or Zoetis. Definitely working in a zoo. In fact, next week, or is it the week after, we have an RVT from Sedgwick County Zoo coming to talk to us. Next week, Courtney's actually taking the students to the zoo. And then, of course, like me, you can teach. My background primarily is in emergency medicine. I did a little bit of work in shelter medicine also, total night-and-day difference, right? And then I kind of got into teaching, and she's gonna have to drag me out of here. It is a true passion. So who's a vet tech? Are any of you guys a vet tech? Oh, you guys are so good. You read the slide already, right? So vet techs are, that title specifically is really designated for people who have education, which is what you're hoping to do, right? It's a college degree. This is somebody who has an associate's degree in veterinary medicine, and an RVT, someone with the fancy letters behind the name, have the education and the licensure. And that's really what our program mission is here at WSU Tech with Vet Nursing, is we want to make sure that you can get a job in the field, which you will have no problem doing, and become licensed, get the fancy letters, right? With licensure, really, the doors open in terms of opportunities for your job, but being able to actually perform many of the skills that oftentimes veterinary assistants are performing, right? And we'll talk about that when you're in the program, about why it really is important. The title of veterinary technician and RVT is reserved for the people who have earned it, right, and deserve it. So many opportunities as a graduate at WSU Tech. Like I said, our students have zero problems finding a job. In fact, if you want a job, there's one waiting for you. It just depends what area of interest you have. We do have a private Facebook group for our vet nursing students, and I post on average 2 to 3 job postings a week from Wichita and the surrounding areas. Many of our students, 2, 5, I think total, including the 2 that are there now, have gone on to K-State to work as veterinary nurse interns. They go through about a year program working different parts of the vet hospital up at K-State. They're working right alongside new vet students, and oftentimes helping them with their education. Here locally, it is a lot of different opportunities in small general practices, but Ronnie works at the emergency clinic, and they're always hiring. And we'll talk about risks a little bit later. You have an idea of what many of those are, but we'll talk about some of those unexpected risks. All right, so our program has a couple different accreditations. The biggest, most important one is that we're accredited by the American Veterinary Medical Association Committee of Veterinary Technologists Education and Activities. We actually just had our site visit for accreditation for the program last week, and got through it with a pretty good outcome. There's always things you can do to improve, and that's what the accrediting body is there to help make sure we do. We also have a regional accreditation through the HLC, or Higher Learning Commission. What that means for you guys is if you want to go on and continue your education after this, you have the opportunity to transfer your 68 credits for your associate's degree into many different areas. You will not transfer into vet school, right? And if you want to be a vet, this is not the pathway. But if you want to go to Colorado and get your bachelor's in vet tech or your bachelor's in business, you can do that. You can transfer your credits. We have here at the college a really cool thing with Wichita State, of course, where you can take your associate degree 2 years and do what's called a 2+2. You go to Wichita State for 2 additional years and you walk out with a bachelor's. You should not be going to school for 4 years to get a bachelor's degree. Yes.
So if I understand correctly, if we want to graduate this program and then continue the education through that program, we just do the extra 2 years.
No.
No.
That's a different pathway entirely. So if you want to go to vet school, some of the credits may transfer to a bachelor's so that you can apply to vet school, but you probably will be looking at a good 3-year bachelor's. And if that's your end goal, we should talk later. Not that I don't want you here, but it is a totally different career pathway. And we don't generally look at nursing as a step to vets because it's a completely different education. We can talk more on that for sure. In this program, we do have 14 different courses. They run the gamut from veterinary nursing, like bandaging, that kind of thing. We have a large animal class where we're doing horses, cattle. We actually go out to the goat lab tomorrow, and then sheep lab next week. We have a bird class where you have to work with parrots that can bite your fingers off. You know, it's the risks, right? It's what makes it fun. But we do everything that you can imagine related to nursing of animals. That's kind of what Lynn had alluded to earlier. We do kind of have a saying in vet med that we're like an RN times 10, because we really do have to learn birds, dogs, cats, horses, cows, rats, rabbits, snakes. I mean, stop me. I could go on, right? You do also have a 240-hour clinical or externship. We do this in the summertime. And Ronnie's class actually is getting ready to go out to externship this summer. We have the 240 hours split over 2 locations so that you can go to general practice and maybe like touch your toes into emergency medicine. Or if you're into horses, you'll go to one horse clinic and we'll make you do dog and cats, right? So we do tailor the opportunity and experience to what your interests are and try to make it, you know, the best for everybody. We do operate on a hybrid model in this program. So we're doing a lot of Zoom virtual class. This is what I call my YouTuber gamer setup. And this is how I Zoom, generally speaking. And then in the last half of the semester, you guys are on campus the last 8 weeks, doing live animal skills, getting your skill check off with Courtney and the other instructors. But at that time, you do also have online material you're responsible for as well. I'll stop here and just elaborate that with this piece in particular, it does take a certain type of student, someone who is self-motivated and can work on their own schedule. One thing that I really don't like doing is tracking you down, asking where your homework is, right? This is a professional program and we do ask that you perform at that level, right? The students will talk to you a little bit more about what this kind of looks like and maybe creating a schedule, different ways that you can kind of keep on track. But that bad. Oh, maybe he's decided to die. Would you mind? Thank you so much. So the program goals you can kind of read through. I mentioned our mission earlier. It is twofold. We want you to get good jobs. We want you to feel like you have a place in this world and that you're making an impact of yourself. We also really push to pass the VTNE, which is the national board exam, on your first try. The reason that we want you to pass on the first try is because you're paying for it in school, and it's an expensive test. Unfortunately, it's not cheap. So we really want to make sure you're prepared, right? So that when you go to take it, you're confident, you're prepared and ready to just ace it, right? Yes. 345. It's not bad compared to some others, but it adds up. It adds up for a college student, right? So yeah, that's our goals. Oh, would you mind? Thank you so much. So the policy, the rules. We do have a uniform. Ronnie's pretty much wearing it. The hoodie is just extra, right? You guys can buy those when you start the program. But it is just scrubs. That's the standard for being a nurse. One thing I'll say though, is again, as a professional program, I expect scrubs to be clean, not wrinkled. We have lint rollers in every corner of this hallway because lint, refer, right? So we want to be presentable. ID tag is just your fancy little cool thing. You may already have one. Yep, there you go. And that's part of your uniform, so we do expect you to have that when you're on campus. Attendance is required. It is required 100% on Zoom. It's required 100% in person, even more in person. Because if you miss cat spay day, you got to find us a cat to spay, and you have to find some friends that'll help you run the surgery because, right, I'm picking. That's what you get for the front row, right? But we understand, and COVID taught us this for sure, that, you know, we understand your car broke down, you just can't make it to class today, or kids sick and you just can't make it to class today. We get that. We also, you know, want to give grace and understanding because sometimes kids have a bad day, not bad either, right? But if you miss time, it has to be made up. And that can become a trick sometimes to accomplish makeup time with our schedules of school, life, work, etc. Right? So the best practice is really do not schedule doctor's appointments on the days of the week that you know you have class, starting today. Right? I know you don't know if you're in yet or not, but that kind of thinking, right? We do have academic requirements to maintain 70% overall testing average and overall grade. Anybody want to guess what the reason is for that? You have to pass the Whitney at 70% or better. And if you can't perform at that level while you're in school, your chances of passing the Whitney aren't great, and you won't continue through the program. Now, I will say, kind of going back to the being flexible, getting grace, whatever, we do have second chance options. So if for some reason you're in Farm Co, you're doing really good, but you just can't get to the 70%, okay, come back next year and take it again with me. The way that the program is built, the semesters build on each other. And so if you don't have what you need foundationally with your knowledge, it's very difficult to continue on. And so we ask that you repeat the class, which usually is a year out because we teach every class on a yearly schedule. So that's incentive to do whatever it takes to study, study, study. While we're talking about study, in this program, there's a very large reading requirement. So you do have to read a lot, right? That's in vet school. That's how they get the bulk of their knowledge, is by reading the textbook, right? You have to read. There is no way to get around reading your textbook in this program, okay? With that, I'll go ahead and just say the year and a half that you're dedicating to this program, you're gonna have limited binge nights on Netflix. There's no more Friday night going to the club, right? You have got to make this your top priority. It's only a year and a half, right? Let's see. Yeah, there you go. And it's not to say you can't, have a good time. You can't reward yourself for studying so hard, right? You absolutely can. But you have to make that tech school your priority, period. Thank you so much. So requirements, you have to obviously done high school. You guys know about your observation time, your shadow time. 20 hours is a minimum, right? The more that you do, the better prepared you will be for school and your professional career, right? 20 hours is a minimum. If you do 87 hours, is it going to make you get in the program faster, quicker, better? No, but it tells me something about you, right? So a year and a half from now, when a doctor's calling me for a job reference, I got that little bit in my back pocket of 7 hours. 20 was in required. Feel that? And then your gen eds and your essay. Real quick on the essay, why do you want to be a vet tech? It needs to be about way more than you love animals, because that's a given, or you wouldn't be here tonight, right? I love animals too. So it really needs to be what makes you stand apart from all of these other people. What are you going to bring to the industry? It just makes me excited. And not just me, it's my whole faculty that grades the essays, guys. But we really want to see people who are going to bring change to the industry, have a passion just burning. And yeah, that's because obviously you love animals. One other thing I would suggest to not put in the essay is how much you hate humans. Same, but we have to love humans as much as we love animals, right? Or we have to at least fake it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Questions on that? Okay. So yeah, 24 students are accepted every fall. It's done on the essay score. So myself and my team will go through essays and grade them on a rubric that can be provided to you if you have not already received that. With all of your documentation, your hours, your essay, all of that is due on the 30th of May, and that's in your packet for your due date. You can go ahead and do your application and everything else you need to do, and then just send me the hours or send them to Alex. She'll send them to me. Same with the essay once you've had a chance to read that. Excuse me. One other thing I guess I'd suggest with the essay, knowing that that's really what makes or break you getting in, please, please, please have somebody read it before you submit it. okay? Our library does that for free. In fact, when you come in with a paper and you ask them to edit it or read it, proofread it, they get so excited.
It makes her day.
It does make it, it really does. And then, of course, take any suggestions given to you to make it a better paper, because we are grading on the use of language, grammar, punctuation, all of the college basics, right? So please have somebody look at that. We'll decide based on essays who's getting in, and I'll start making phone calls in June. It's usually the first and second week. With that, please make sure that your information is up to date, right? I do phone call, yes and no, right? I'll call and say, hey, you got in, congratulations. Have you come and meet with me to pick up your acceptance packet. If for some reason you don't get in, I call and say, hey, we didn't get you in this time. Let's try for next year. This is what you can do in the meantime. Okay. Make sure your phones have voicemail set up too, please. And then also be checking your emails. If for some reason I can't get a hold of you on the phone after a couple tries, I will email and ask for communication that way. Okay. I guess one thing on the email, though, I usually harp on this more once you're in the program. I do, and it's just me, but in a professional setting, we don't want to see emails that are hotchick420@gmail, right? Sexy beast kitten at Gmail. Oh, I could go. So just something to think about, okay? And then orientation for the program will be for everybody that gets in. It'll be on July 25th in this room for a couple hours in the afternoon. You'll hear more about that as we get closer. Orientation, we really go over what's the very first day of class going to look like. How are you going to organize your time schedule? Have you gotten all your books ordered? All of that kind of stuff. Okay. And then, of course, classes start in August 21st. Yeah. Oh, again, it's killed. Any questions so far? Couple out-of-pocket expenses. These are things that, again, when you get in, you'll be expected to pay out of pocket for a pair of boots, pair of coveralls, wristwatch. You have to have a calculator for your pocket. Again, we don't want you to spend a whole lot of money, but just let you know that you're going to need to ask your Uncle Bob to borrow the coveralls, right? Yes.
What kind of food?
Ones that are appropriate for working with large animals. They do not need to be steel toe, but they can't be rubber rain boots.
What about these?
Oh yeah, so it's fair. A lot of times I'll tell students they can do like the leather, like hiking boots, that some people will hike around in, that those are usually okay too.
Don't spend a lot of money, it's gonna get dirty. That's kind of the rule of thumb for everything. Don't just expect it to get covered in food vomit.
So coveralls
You buy it for like $30.
and ours.
And actually summer's the best time to buy them because they go on sale.
Yeah, I think that's
Wristwatch, $7 at Walmart. Don't need anything fancy. One thing I will say though, fancy Apple watches that take 20 seconds to get to the second hand, I'm not a huge fan of because you're wasting the animal's time at that point. I won't make you not have it, but you need to be able to use it quickly and have it set up for the second hand for sure. There's one of the birds. And then, yeah, the online stuff. This is pretty much the very back sheet of your packet that talks about the digital device requirements. So this program, you have to have a computer. You cannot do this program through Blackboard on your cell phone. Right? You can use Blackboard and like check what somebody said on an email or whatever. You cannot submit your assignments to Blackboard on your phone. You can't do your quizzes on the phone. So you have to have a computer. With that, of course, is internet. It's tricky sometimes for some of us that live in more rural areas that we have internet, it's just really crappy. If that's the case, and or if you're just not able to get internet, here for you, the college does have through the library loan programs for both Chromebooks and Wi-Fi hotspots. So if that's something that you need, an extra hotspot just to give yourself a boost so that you can actually show up on video, go rent one out from the library for this semester. Right? Same thing if your laptop breaks down week 2 and you do not have the money to go get a new one, don't freak out. Don't quit the program. Go to the library and get a book, get a Chromebook. Not the best option, but it's better than nothing, right? With the hybrid portion, and assignments and due dates and all of that, we are really flexible with like, I was up throwing up all night, I didn't get my assignments on time. Okay, cool, I'll let you turn it in tomorrow, no biggie. But if you email me and say, my computer stopped working and I couldn't submit it, that is not my problem, right? Because y'all been warned, right? With that also, the campus, for the times that maybe you're online at home, the campus is always open. You can come and use our internet, right? Come and work in any workspaces, if you just need to get this, right? Or you can't focus on Zoom with kids running around, just come to campus, not a problem. Any questions on that stuff? Why don't I stop here, Ronnie, and actually just let you have the floor for a few. Denise may still come a little bit later, and if so, we'll let her have a chance to talk. Ronnie is in cohort 8, and she is, second semester, second year. Go ahead, take it.
I am in cohort 8, so I am also our SCNACTA Vice President, student chapter of the National Association of Veterinary Technicians in America. As far as our student chapter, we do a lot of community events. So you'll see us at vaccine clinics, we do microchipping, we hold fundraiser where we will partner with various local charities. We make sweet sweatshirts and shirts for our classes, and we share them with you guys. We don't pay for them, but we make them for you. It's a lot. I'm not even gonna lie. This program asks a lot of you. If you would like to work in clinic, which I do, because I have a certain level of fit for myself, it's a lot. It truly is. You are going to be pushed to limits that you've never done before, but with that comes a lot of growth. There's going to be a lot less social time for you and your partner and your friends. Just understand that. But the biggest thing I'll say about this program is make friends. Your friend Jessica, she's going to have internet when yours goes down. Or my car broke down, but we have 4 slots today. Great, I'll pick you up on my way. Make friends in this program because that is your biggest resource. We hold group study time all the time. We will go to other people's houses. We've talked about doing it in a bowling alley. There's just honestly, each other is our biggest resource with this program. Understand time management and understand your learning style as quick as you can if you don't already know it, because that's going to come into play big time. Because once you're done with the 8 weeks on lab or 8 weeks on Zoom and you're in lab, it's not a, okay, what are we gonna do? It's, all right, here's your animal, go do your exam. You're gonna have to know how to do these things when you get in the door. So read up, practice, also utilize, Courtney and your instructors. If you're struggling with something, ask them. They have so much untapped knowledge that you can do. And just prioritize yourself. Make time for the nice bath or, an extra meal once a week. It truly is going to push you to also prioritize yourself.
Any questions for Ronnie?
Yeah, that's right. Questions.
So you have go to school in August and then go through the spring semester. And then you'll have a summer.
So we have full coursework spring and summer, fall and spring. Our summer is our 240-hour externship. We have 2 different locations we're going to. I will be doing another ER location, and then I'll be doing budget enrollment Spears, and then we'll come back and finish out with the full semester.
Years.
Dr. Spears is
It's equine surgery and medicine. It is 37th Street North and
And then the second year?
it's just the fall semester.
Just the fall semester.
Graduate in December. That's it for your BTNE in March. And the big thing, guys, don't wait to take your BTNE after school. Take it as soon as you can. because they push us to.
We don't give you the option otherwise, yes. We want to make sure everything's still fresh in your brains, that you feel confident from your schooling. So yeah, we do generally make you take it the first week that the window is open. And we help get you set up for that. We have everybody apply for the test in person. One of the courses that Ronnie will have going into fall is a Veterinary prep course that's dedicated to nothing but studying for that test. But we do not wait till last semester to start studying. Students start primarily in the first semester. We start forcing you to look at what questions you might see on your national board. And that kind of helps as you're going through the program because you can say, oh my gosh, that's what Courtney was just talking about. That's why she cared so much about it, because it's on your Veterinary, right? So we look at that very early on. Thanks, Ronnie. That was awesome. Perfect, in fact. So the last little bit of info is really just related to the occupational risks of working in the industry. You guys pretty much know with dogs and cats, the biggest thing is going to be bites, scratches. With your large animal, definitely, the horse stepping on your foot, but it could be just the cattle chute, cut your hand off, right? Cow didn't do it, the chute did it. But there's all different potential risks that we want to make sure you're aware of, both with the animals, the environment, and the equipment that we use. And that's what we'll just kind of briefly go through on your occupational risk. This also is just, again, making sure that this is something that you can do in terms of, physical, mental health. But then also things to be aware of if you are in practice, and then of course coming for your education. So the first thing is the ergonomics, and yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure how much of this is on here. Yeah, the ergonomics isn't really on this one, but that's okay. It's pretty much, the other day we were in lab and we were doing like blood pressures and EKGs, and I had a student squatting like this for about 15 minutes because she had to hold it up like that, right? So sitting in funky positions, bending over kind of weirdly, sometimes even doing a dental where you're holding the dental instrument for 4 hours straight while you're cleaning disgusting mouth. That can make your hand cramp up or you can't even move your hand, right? These are all things that could potentially affect you working in this career here in school, but definitely in practice. When you're out in practice working in a full-time job. And obviously, yeah, the injury from animals. I mentioned injury from the equipment. Just the other day, I pinched the heck out of my pinky finger. I don't know if you can tell, but I was just moving a rack and it got caught between a Tupperware container and the rack and it pinched me. Again, not necessarily an animal that did it to me, right? Slipping on wet floors, all of those different things. Radiation is a big one. You can read through some of the parts of radiation, but the biggest thing that I hammer for you guys, and my faculty and staff too, we are all, for the most part, in full working order, reproductively speaking. Radiation can change that for you. And it's not going to be tomorrow and it's not going to be next year, but 10 years from now, you try to have a baby, things can be weird because of all the radiation that you've been associated with. Of course, we'll teach you the proper ways to avoid overexposure of radiation and ways that you can monitor your radiation, but it is no joke. Y'all have watched Chernobyl, right? Not, what is it on Hulu? Go watch it. The big thing that we see outside of reproductive cells is any other rapidly dividing cells, which include your fingernails. I made last group info session go home with a homework assignment to Google radiation melting fingernails. Again, it's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen a year from now. It'll be 10 years from now that you have some weird kind of nail cancer caused from radiation because you're not wearing gloves when you take x-rays. Okay. So it's a big one. That is no joke. And in some instances, for example, the students who are at K-State, they have a 6-week rotation of doing nothing but x-rays for 8-hour shifts. Now they're doing it safely and appropriately, but imagine if they weren't, that's a lot of radiation in a 6-week period of time, right? Now in clinic, a lot of times it's rotational. So it'll be you and me take this x-ray, you guys go take the next x-ray, and then you guys take the next one. Some clinics don't have that many bodies, right? So you're the only one ever taking x-rays ever, because you're the only one working, right? Other big one is waste anesthetic gases. We are anesthetists, right? And this is part of our job description. And so we are running anesthesia for the pets that are going for surgery or dental or what have you. And there's a lot of potential damage that can occur similarly to your reproductive organs because you're breathing in waste anesthetic gases. This is something we see sometimes in practice when we're recovering pets. The pet went through surgery, he's totally fine. We're just waiting for him to wake up. He's got the tube out his mouth, and you're laying there with your face right next to him, breathing all that gas in. Is he still breathing gas out? Right? That's a big risk. Tomorrow we'll be working with some anesthesia in lab. We're doing a little bit of work with an anesthetic box to induce some animals. And we'll be very careful that our students are not exposed or huff in the air close to the box when we're working there. Right? So it is just different things to be aware of. It is so much more than just holding the dog or cat, right? In terms of the risk, especially. This is the big one, going back to the dental, dirty, disgusting dog mouths. That's all bacteria, right? And when we're scaling and polishing and scraping all of that grossness off, all of that bacteria has now become aerosolized, which means you're breathing it in and you don't even know it, right? That can get into the lining of your heart. It can go into your lungs and cause some pretty bad stuff. Now, what should you do to avoid that? And you know, that's the kind of stuff that we'll teach, right? And you don't always see in practice, but that's the whole benefit of coming to school, right? As opposed to just doing the job on the job training. And then of course, zoonotic disease potential, rabies, as you guys will see. I think it's on that very next page, the highlighted part about rabies. Rabies is a fatal disease, it will kill you. And we do require that all students in the program be vaccinated for the human rabies vaccine. This is something that we have included in tuition and fees. So if you do utilize financial aid, it can cover the additional cost. But this is a requirement, one, because of the zoonotic potential, but also because especially when you go to externships, oftentimes you don't have the history of the animal, right? Or let's just say you're working at a clinic and a dog gets hit by a car and some random person brings it in. You have no idea if that dog has a rabies vaccine, is potentially infected with rabies. So it's a requirement. When you think about all the parasitic stuff and protozoal stuff, we run fecals like it's going out of business. Fecal testing is checking for parasites. We do this on a weekly basis during the spring. And we treat every piece of poop as it is in could be. I don't know who's do that, right? So we're wearing gloves, we're washing our hands, we're being very conscious of the potential risks. Hookworms, if you didn't know, is the reason why I don't go barefoot in Kansas, even though I grew up here and ran barefoot my entire life. But these little eggs can get into your skin through bare feet, crawl through your skin, and cause cutaneous migraines. Very itchy, very painful. Treatment, dog dewormer. Okay. Is there another slide? I don't know if there is or not. Oh my gosh. This was sad sack. She was such a good chicken. Bless her. She died. She was a sad chicken. So I think that really was it. I guess the only other thing to mention on the bite scratch protocol, if you are injured in some capacity on campus, we just gotta come tell your teacher. We're not gonna yell at you. But it's not uncommon. You get scratches more than anything, and it's usually not intentional. The cat accidentally scratched you, right? We're not going to say he's a vicious animal. But we do really pay attention, Courtney, especially when we're working with animals in lab and she notices the dog starts growling at you, we're going to put him away, right? We're not going to force him to continue with the lesson if he's showing that he's not wanting to be part of it. And we'll get another dog out. Right? Or if she noticed a cat just tried to bite you, we're probably going to put that cat away and get another one. Right? So we're not trying to put you guys at risk. We also want you to know these things can happen. Right? That's pretty much all my tidbits. What questions you guys have about the program, industry, classes, application requirements? I know I've gotten a lot of essays from some of you guys and some hours too, so that's great. And as we get a little bit closer to the May deadline, I'll start compiling a list of what I have from who. And Alex will definitely be staying on top of you guys too, to make sure, did you get your hours in? Have you submitted your essay yet? So that you guys definitely are part of the pack at the end of May, so we can start making acceptance. Yes. Everything paperwork wise is due May 30th. So hours, essay, have to be in by the 30th. Maybe midnight that night. As long as it's in, checking on June 1st, so I'll start printing stuff off and start going to town. Oh my God, whatever it is, whatever it is, the day after. What else?
Shadowing hours, they just contact any veterinarian.
Yeah.
They just come in and do shadowing program.
Yep, exactly. I will say, I didn't mention this earlier, we have here in Wichita and surrounding area, a very robust network of veterinary clinics and other facilities that have veterinarians and RVTs. If you're having trouble finding a location, reach out to Alex or I and can send you the list that we have. But I would say chances are they're on our list. There are very few clinics that are not going to take a student. Yeah.
There's actually a couple of places on that list that I hope to try and get scheduled, and they don't take unless you students.
Was it El Paso?
It was Share and it was Animal Health Center, and there was another one. I can't. But I finally got a hold of the eQuains, and I'm actually doing it tomorrow morning before work.
Oh, very good, very good. Yeah, we usually don't have an issue, but you know, clinics are short-staffed right now, so just even having somebody in for observation can sometimes be a little bit more for a stretch team. But yeah, that's good. You got spears. What else? You guys see the top? Ready to like go through the ringer? You know, like Ronnie said, and Lynn said it too. You know, it's hard, but really, truly, things that matter the most, as cheesy as it might sound, are meant to be hard. They're meant to push you to your breaking point and show you that you can move past that, right? You can do hard things. Are we going to cry a little bit? Yes. Are we going to hate Miss H a little bit? Probably. Right? But I mean, if you can trust in my team, if you can trust in the process that we have built here, and I mean, I don't want to say do what you're told, but do as instructed, you're going to do just fine. Ronnie did mention something I harp on a lot, and I think Courtney agrees with it too. If you are able to get into a clinic, I know that that sounds crazy, have a life, work, and go to school, and don't do anything else. Working in a vet clinic will make the program easier. And the reason for that, in particularly with classes like pharmacology, it is like a nursing human pharmacology class. We hardcore hit 70 minimum, and there's hundreds of drugs out there, but 70 minimum. And if you're not working in a clinic, all these drug names sound like Chinese, right? It doesn't make sense that this one is different from this one because of this and this, right? But if you're working in a clinic and you see the doctor prescribing it, or you hear the vet talking about why he's prescribing this drug, it makes those connections so much easier, right? Skill wise, you know, we can teach you all the skills, like drawing blood, that's easy. It's actually not hard. Restraining the animal, a little bit trickier, right? But we can teach you those skills. The knowledge part is on you, right? We do what we can, of course, to facilitate that. But at the end of the day, whether or not you learn it is you, right? And so working at clinic does help with that. Now, I'll say too, how many of you guys are in clinic right now? Okay, super, super. I thought there was a handful. So I actually have practiced more as an on-the-job trained assistant than I have with my license. I worked for quite some time as a vet assistant before I went to vet tech school. And I was like, oh my God, vet tech school is going to be so easy. Day one, vet tech school. I learned I knew nothing. I knew how to do all the things, but I had no idea why. And I didn't know how by doing something wrong or not the way it should be done can actually affect the outcome of the animal, right? And so there is a very big difference between on-the-job trained and classically trained educationally, right? And that's why we exist. And that's why we have industry support, is because vets want RBTs, right? An example I use sometimes with other prospective students, like in high schools or whatever, is say this gently and with love, you guys, I was an on-the-job trained tech too. If you're spending $4,500 on your dog surgery, you want the person monitoring you to have a license, yes or no? Yes. Would you accept if it was an on-the-job trained Sally off the street 2 weeks ago, she started this job? Would you be super bad if you found out you just spent $4,500 and that's the case? Right? I mean, it really is. It is a big deal that you guys are looking at this as something that you're going to pursue. And it is you guys that will continue to force change in the industry.
When it comes to finding a clinic, humble yourself, start as a kennel assistant. We all want to be a start as a kennel assistant. I did. That's how I got where I am. I learned so much. I learned from blood work. I learned proper restrictive techniques. Not all of them, but just some others. You will learn a lot as a kennel assistant. And, you know, if you do it well enough, they will work with you to get you into as an assistant. But don't have the ego. You get out and be an assistant. It works.
Well, that's simple.
Yeah, and that's okay.
I started my history before working in vet med, and I'll tell you guys stories once you start the program. Story time's like one of the funnest things, right?
It is.
But I actually dropped out of high school my junior year. Never thought I'd go to college. I was a waitress and bartender pretty much all of my life right after school. And it was because I had amazing waitressing and customer service skills that I got hired as a receptionist at this vet's office. Growing up, my parents did not take dogs to the vet. We had dogs, they lived outside. They did not get anything besides fresh food and water, right? I was actually scared of dogs up until I was 17 because I had been attacked by one as a kid. I never went to, I never had the dream of I want to be a vet someday. I wanted to be an astronaut or a writer, right? But I did, I kind of got this job working as reception, mostly because I was nice, right? And I learned a ton. But even then, and this guys who I worked in South Hutch back in the day, there was no future of college for me because Colby was pretty much the only option. I did not have money and I knew no one, right? So it was a very long, convoluted journey to me to get to vet tech school. And again, like I said, I learned day one, oh crap, I want to learn here for it, right? We do harp a lot on just having a good attitude, right? Again, so what? You can't hit that jugular vein, neither can she, neither can I, but you have a good attitude about it, right? You're not like stuck all over the place. You're like, right? It is energy. Having good energy is, open energy, being positive, trying to find the highlight in anything. We walk in a lot of gray zones with that head. You have to be okay with it, right? And sometimes it is so hard that you do just move. But you get up tomorrow and you try again, and it's having such an incredible impact on the world. Every dog you touch. Okay, it's getting late, I better stop. It's getting weird. Any other questions, comments, anything at all? So I left Kansas in 2009 and went out to the Bay Area in California. I was sitting on my little sister's couch in Santa Cruz when one of those commercials came on. You guys know that, like, National American University. Yeah. Okay, so it was one of those. It wasn't that college, but it was something like that. And I said, you know what? Because at the time I was working at Bruno's, an Italian restaurant, so making good money. But I was like, I could continue working at Bruno's for the rest of my life, or I can take a chance on something I sort of know about. And so I went to that tech school in the Bay Area. I was fortunate because I had a lot of family out there. So that kind of worked, right? Because again, I knew nobody in Colby. Who was I going to live with and survive up in Colby? I could have been done Courtney years later. Years later. It's her school. And some of my other instructors actually graduated from Colby as well. But yeah, it is. I say all the time that med has saved my life time and time again. It has changed my life time and time again. and provided me opportunities I would have never imagined otherwise. I have published, so I did go on to be a writer. And I still have lots of goals left. And that's the cool thing about vet med, working in a clinic or any type of capacity, is literally every day is something new. You know, Courtney and I plan out the week like still something will happen tomorrow that throws our plan off, right? And we have to readjust, stay positive, and just do the job. Sometimes that's easier than it is actually do. If you didn't have a chance when you came in, I see many people grabbed all the packets and stuff. My cards are back there too. If you guys get home, mom, you think of something that she should have asked, send me an email. You can call. I prefer an email. I'm one of those people, right? But you can call. And or let Alex know. She'll get the message to me so I can help out with that. Any info that you may have missed. Otherwise, just really start working on the essay. Yes, please, Courtney.
I've been told if you're gonna call scared them.
Oh, she's like me. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I was gonna say, yeah, share's one of our links. But I do know that they're very short staffed right now, as is pretty much every clinic in the county. That's why you guys are here. And we can't get you out fast enough. All right, guys. Thanks for coming. Work on your essays. Start blowing up my emails. Okay. And hopefully I'll see you back in June when you come pick up your packets. Okay. Oh, thank you. Good night.